Good afternoon. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, from 1 to 3 p.m. Central, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. It's always a fun ride. There are many ways you can watch this show and listen to our station, which is icradio.media. You can find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, and Abundant Television, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget the podcast, thenewscasters.com is how you can find us. If you would like to send an email, we would love to hear from you. Any ideas on shows? You'd like me to do a little research for you? I'm a research junkie, so send them on. You can send an email to donna@donnasedge.com. Donna@donnasedge.com. Today we're going to talk about, election is coming up pretty soon, and who knows what to think. I mean, you're hearing sound bites, which is not full information, but you can hear sound bites on candidates, and if you don't listen to the whole thing, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I found this on worldvision.org, some really good questions right here, and the title is Election Day, 7 questions to ask your candidates before you vote. It is really important, okay? Now, some on the local level, you can just walk right up to them while they're in their candidacy, while they're out there on the campaign trail, and ask questions. You can also send emails. You can also send, with Facebook, you can also send messages. Let me tell you what not to do, though, and this is all social media sites. This is whether it's Facebook or whatever. Don't put nasty stuff under the comments. If you have a question for a particular candidate, send them a private message and do it that way. I disagreed with someone, and it was someone pretty much well on the national, that I knew was on a national level, and I had a question about one of the things he did in office. Well, I didn't throw that out there for the whole world to see. I didn't want to embarrass him or me by doing that. So I sent him a private message, and that was enough for me. So that's what you can do. Do it with grace and do it with style, and it'll all work out just right. As a matter of fact, they're going to respond to you a whole lot quicker if you'll act that way. I promise you. Okay, now, this is what the author of this particular article says. While elections occur only once every 2 to 4 years, with the amount of news coverage and media, it can seem like a lot more than often. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes it just comes at you like a whirlwind. So you don't know what to believe. You don't know what to say. That's Donna, not the article. It's easy to become desensitized to the people, the issues, and the noise, and we don't want you to do that. But now is the time to pay attention. So the people who are elected to the White House, the Senate, and to local positions of power in November will make decisions on issues we care about as Christians and as citizens of the United States. So not only do we need to commit to making it our local polling place this fall, but we also need to commit to refocusing the conversation around these issues. Okay, now let's refocus on the election conversation to issues of poverty and justice. It's all out there. You're going to hear all kinds of things, but God asked us to care for the poor. So, with that said, elected officials work for us and will be our voice when it comes to issues of poverty and justice, such as girls' education, clean water, human trafficking, or the response to war and conflict. What do you want to say? During these midterms, you and I have the power to refocus the conversation towards what really matters, okay? Issues that will be affected by decisions in the next 2 to 4 years. You need to go check up on these folks, okay? Because sometimes people will say they'll do something, but if it's someone who has been in office for a number of years, you can go back and you can check how they voted on particular things, and that's important to know. Okay, now, this is the second one. Start a meaningful conversation. Raise the conversation among your friends and networks. Make it of value, okay? What they mean by this is move beyond talking about the candidates as people you may like or dislike. Sometimes you don't like somebody's personality. Who cares what the personality is if they're going to make it work? Phil and I used to own 8 cell phone businesses in Alabama. And I didn't necessarily look for somebody with the best personality. I wanted to look for people who were going to be loyal and people who I thought would actually help me make a profit in my business, and people who would run things right. Now, if you're looking for someone, a receptionist, someone on the front end, definitely. A good, pleasing personality is a must. It has to be. But when it comes on decision making, and sometimes it's behind closed doors in a business setting, I could care less about somebody's personality. I want someone who's going to produce, and I'm looking for people who want to produce also in the candidate field. Yeah, I definitely, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, now move beyond talking about candidates as people you like or dislike, and instead talk about the actions. This is important. The actions they will take as educated officials and elected officials, and how these actions will reflect the most vulnerable people who don't have a voice. Okay, so you're looking for a candidate who's going to give the voice to the people who don't have a voice. Okay, all right. So children in Syria and Iraq who have been displaced by violent conflict. That's a part of it. And I'll read you a list. Okay, here we go. Mothers who give birth unattended and fear that their children will not live. How about this one? Girls not in school because they have to collect water for their families. How about this one? People who want to provide food for their families but lack land or resources. How about this? Children facing violence in their own country but with no place to go. We've got all that stuff happening here in the United States now. It's pitiful, but it really is happening. Now, as a constituent whose voice makes a difference, ask your candidates to move beyond their normal talking points, which basically is just a bunch of stuff they think you want to hear, and start conversations about issues that matter for the people whom Jesus would describe as the least of these. Let's just see how far they think they're up there in the world, okay? And you'll find out whether somebody's actually running to help someone or for power. Huge difference between the two. Now, ask your political candidates these 7 questions. Okay, so to find your local candidates, check out your newspaper or look for a voting guide in the mail. You can also go to a number of websites out there. And there is one, let's see, I've got it placed right here on my desktop, and it's Questions to Ask Candidates Running for Office. And I'm going to put that link down there for you as well. Okay, now here's a good one, foreign aid. Okay, do you support the foreign aid assistance budget, which makes up less than 1% of the total federal budget? So why is this important? Okay, this budget helps build stable economies and infrastructure while giving communities a path out of poverty through access to basics like health facilities, schools, and clean water. Now, you all have heard me talk about this. It's a pitiful little commercial that comes on television. It's about dogs and cats that are freezing outside in the cold, what have you. I was about to go stroke a check and send this company some money, and then I thought, wait a minute, I'm going to see what the CEO of this place makes. I checked the CEO's salary. It's over $1 million. Now, while I'm going to say this, I think folks need to make a good living who are CEO of because these things are essential. You want to help and you want to know how you can do it. And if they put a good network together. But $1 million is too much. It really is. I wouldn't have a problem with a couple of $100,000. I think that'd be just fine. But I'm thinking of $1 million when that could, how many dogs and cats would that help? So I scrapped that. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So that's when I went to Doug McGee at Second Chance Animal Shelter. She's right down the road from me. And I know they're working for peanuts. And I know that I can help. I can volunteer for time. I can give. I can do all kinds of stuff. And I know it's going and it's helping my local community as well. So I want you to think about people who are running for office that way, okay? Which was a good question on foreign aid. Is that some of this? Is it going to go to some high official somewhere? Is it going to go to the dictator who runs the country? Is that where it's going to go? Or is it going to actually help the people? You need to find out what their stance is on that and how they're going to make that happen. It's important. It's an important question. Number 2, human trafficking. Don't even get me started on that. I think a lot of that has to do, this is my opinion and the opinion of a lot of folks, the open borders we have. That's just inviting the psychos in. And you're having kids come in. Human trafficking is bigger than you think it is. And that is a question you can ask on the local level too, because it's in our own backyard now. Okay, so human trafficking. What do you see as the U.S. role in combating human trafficking, also known as modern day slavery? Yeah, it's happening right here in our own backyards too. Number 3, disaster response. That's a huge one right there. What if we have a hurricane? What if we have tornadoes? And we have lots of really funky, weird traffic patterns right now. So here's a disaster response. What specifically would you do to ensure that America is able to respond quickly and effectively to people in other parts of the world and here suffering from war and or natural disasters? You know, every time there's a huge fire in California, I always wonder if that same fire happened here, how much quicker we would be to responding. You know why? Because in my neck of the woods, we want to do things the right way. I mean, you know, we want to have something well organized. We don't just go throw a bunch of stuff out there. But you have to wonder how many people have to go up, you have to pass on the chain of command to get something done, to get water to put the fires out with. You have to wonder about those things. You folks in California and other parts of the country need to be asking that question. Yeah, I mean, what can be done in a more timely essence to get this stuff done, to get it handled? I know around here, tornado happens, you got neighbors who are coming out of the woodwork that come and help. I mean, that's just the way we are here. Forget the regulations. You need some regulations, and I'll say this again. You need some regulations. Okay, things have to be done the right way. However, have a plan already. I sometimes feel like when the government is concerned, I'm not just knocking, the government can do good things. But I'm just saying there are so many things that you have to, regulations, you know, you got to get those things out of the way. People running their businesses have regulations. It's good to have a good accounting. It's good to have a plan put in place, but don't go overboard. Okay. All right. I'm off on that rant. Now, what about health? Preventable deaths of children under 5 have nearly been cut in half since 1990, yet the budgets for international material and child health programs are often targeted for cuts in the process. Do you support these programs? And if so, how will you ensure funding continues to be a priority? Those are good questions. And they're not going to feel on the defense when you ask this way. Okay, education. Ooh, that's a big one for me right here. Okay, so although the number of out-of-school children of primary school age declined globally from 100 million to 61 million, which is still a huge number, between the years 2000 and 2015, progress has stalled since 2007. Do you see the benefit of education programs globally? And if so, how do you believe the United States can support this? Now let's talk about collaboration. How do you see faith-based organizations, non-governmental organizations, and the United States government working together to help fight extreme poverty? How can citizens play a role? And then before we go into a break, this is extremely important. Pray for political candidates and elected officials. As Election Day does approach, pray that respect and values come to the forefront. Pray that candidates are given the will to talk about issues first and resist the temptation to attack others, which you see happening. Pray that all political candidates across the country would remember the poor and the vulnerable, and those who are elected would take them with a message of justice to the halls of Congress. Let's go into a commercial break. We'll be right back in just a minute.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018.
Okay, we're back. My name is Donna, and I am your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show. We're talking about questions you can ask your folks who are running for office. Now, if you are thinking about, you still haven't decided, it's too late right now, but 2 years down the road, and you decide you want to run for office, let's think about the questions you need to ask yourself if you're planning on running for office, and also questions you may need to ask about your family, because when you're running for office and when you are in the political world, your family's involved too. So you got to make sure you're all on the same page. So here are 10 questions to ask before you run for office. And this is from a website called trailblz.com. That's TRAILBLZ.com. This is good questions right here. First of all, this is probably the most important one right here of everything. And this is whether it's political world or just, taking a relocation for a job somewhere. Is my family on board? That's extremely important. I know of someone who was running for office and their wife, you could tell she just had to be there. She didn't really want to be there. She didn't care whether he ran for office or not. And she was just always doing other things. She's just like she was there, but she wasn't there. She was doing other things. So you might want to think about putting your personal family's life on stage, okay? And that's going to happen. You got to think of the person who's running against you, okay? Your whole family's a target, your spouse and your kids, although it should not be that way. It is, because here's what happens is people, they'll go ahead and say it and they think, well, I'll go ahead and say it. I'll ask for forgiveness later. And that's the attitude with a lot of folks who are running for office. So a candidate needs to count on their family, especially if the campaign heats up and a lot of time is spent away from home campaigning. Also, campaigns can hit pretty close to home. So negative campaigning is present in almost every election, even your little hometown elections. Candidates need to consider what negatives the other side may raise and their impact on their family and friends. And also remember this, because we see this happening a lot. Whether you've done something or not, if the person running against you can put that little negative feed in people's minds, they're going to do it. So that's again where your research needs to come in, okay? And you got to make sure now your family's on board for this. So if you're thinking about running for dog catcher or president of the United States, these are questions you really need to ask. Okay, number 2, are my finances sound? Ooh, I've had this little question about that. I think everybody should be spending the same amount, whatever the election is, whatever the office is. I think they need to money needs to be put in a pack. You need to say, you can spend it all now, you can all spend it all later, whatever you want to do. But if President of the United States, let's just use $1 million. So each candidate running for President of the United States, you got $1 million and that's it. You can't spend another nickel. So I think that would cut down on a lot of this nonsense. Okay, so number 2, are my finances sound? So every campaign needs money. Each candidate needs to access the financial need of their campaign. So running for office is not a job, although I think some people are doing it that way. It pays nothing. If you're the owner of a small business, campaigning will take away time normally spent on earning a living. So support at home is crucial to staying in the campaign. You got to be out there and see the people. That means if you got a job or you're running a business, you're not going to be spending as much time doing that, so it's going to affect your income. Okay, now number 3, some people don't know how to ask for money. So here's the question. Do I have the stomach to ask for the cash? Many qualified candidates lose elections because they're unwilling or uncomfortable asking people for money. As a result, they become non-competitive. Normally, a candidate starts by asking their family and friends first and then branches out. So first-time candidates running up against an incumbent may have the biggest challenge. Unless the campaign is funded by the candidate, it will take many hours of work just to raise the money, okay, just to be competitive. So if you're not willing to spend the time and effort, this just may not be for you. Number 4, and this is a real important one right here. Do I have the stomach to go negative? Okay, it seems like people who are running for office, most of them do these negative campaigns. I personally wouldn't want to do that. I would want to run on my accomplishments or what my thoughts are to make the world a better world, not based on Susie Jane running against me. She's a piece of scum. I think that's the absolute wrong way to do it, because when you're running for office, you got to think about little people like me out there. Okay, we got boots on the ground. We know what's going on really in our neighborhoods and in the country. And if you start that with us, we're going to say next. You know, so that's the way it goes. But listen to this. As a candidate in a competitive election, you will be expected to draw a contrast between you and your opponent. Now, if the campaign gets aggressive and you can't approach this message, then maybe politics is just not for you. You don't have to play dirty games, but if you can't define yourself and your opponent to the voters, you can bet your opponent will do it for you, and it won't do it in a nice way. So your opponent's message might throw you off your campaign plan. Before you become a candidate, consider whether you have the stomach for contrast. Yeah, make sure you do that. Sometimes if you have a weird family, that might put you, a few bootstraps ahead of everybody. If you've had to fight negative stuff in your family, and you've handled that okay, then you might be able to run for office. Okay, number 5 is this one. Do I understand my own values. Everyone needs core values. Everyone. If you don't have any core values, then I have to wonder about you running for office, period. So think about those things, about your core values, and always keep a check on them, okay? And sometimes you have to take away some things, and sometimes you have to add things. So let's talk about that. Let's go into a little bit more discussion. So every candidate must be able to express why. What's your why? What keeps you up at night? So why are you running for office, and why voters should vote for them? Okay, voters are not as interested in credentials as they are in the values of a candidate. So a candidate must be able to express them in language the voters understand and can relate to. Okay, this is what I noticed. Okay, so when I am listening to someone speak, okay, and they're telling you why they're running for office, and it's a bunch of humdrum. You almost feel like you're in a Charlie Brown cartoon. You're hearing yeah, 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 and they're not really saying anything. And another thing is, if they're not looking at you, they're not looking out into the audience. I have to wonder then too. So if they're constantly looking above you, they're not even looking at you. They're looking above your head. Beware that candidate. Okay, first of all, for that shine, I can't look you in the eyes. I don't need to be running for office, because the first person who says boo, it's going to scare them off and they're going to leave. So look for the person who's going to look you dead in the eyes when they're talking to you. That person you can trust. Okay, but again, looking off, they're constantly fumbling around. They're doing this kind of stuff all the time. Pay attention to body language. It's extremely important right there. Okay, let me hurry up. Number 6. Do I understand my constituency? One of the major differences between large campaigns and small local elections is candidate visibility to the voters. Now, candidates in local elections often see their voters as they go about their daily life. I know there was and this is considered the old-fashioned way, but I'm just going to tell you the old-fashioned way still works. Okay, so a number of this guy and then this lady were running for office. It was a local thing. And so the lady was, having these meetings and stuff, and they were good. I went to a few of them, and she's a really nice lady. I like her. I really do. But the guy who was running against her, he was actually going and knocking on doors. He actually came to our house and knocked on the door and talk to Phil and me. I'm just going to have to tell you, it feels more personal that way. And if somebody's knocking on doors, I know it's the old-fashioned way, but when they're knocking on the door, they're taking time to come out and talk to you personally, and they get around to as many people as. Now he still had these talks where people would come. He still did that, but I like the idea that he cared about me. He didn't want to just do one talk and it go to 100 people. He actually wanted to do one-on-ones. Now, did he stay all day? No. He said what he had to say and he left, which was nice. Because I don't want anybody camping out at my house either. However, he came, said what he had to say, and he left. Phil and I both voted for him because we felt it was more of a personal thing. And it was. So, candidates' local elections often see their voters as they go on their daily life. It's not unusual for voters to see a local candidate in the grocery store, at a sporting event, at a PTO meeting, at a religious gathering, or similar places. So, local candidates are on display where voters can ask direct questions. Larger campaigns are more media-driven and more removed from the electorate. Okay, so larger campaigns are more able to stage their public contact. Okay, I said it. Okay, if you have any questions about this, something you'd like to add, send an email to Donna@donnasedge.com. That's Donna@donnasedge.com. Be glad to sit down and talk to you about it. Thank you so much for watching.